Well, hello everybody. Welcome back to an intervention called Dissonant Waves. My name is Dominic. I'm here to talk to you today with Ritz and Tricks. Please sit down. We want to let
I
you know that
was
we love you.
was never standing.
Yeah,
It's
you,
always
you
been
won't
seated.
you won't stand for this. You've told me that several times.
Hard
This
to
is
stand.
the worst puns that we've had to open up an episode in 2 weeks.
Tricks, you have anything to say in this time of need, in this time of great distress?
Why Benadryl? That's like one of the worst drugs you can do.
Well,
Well, they wanted to
that
see
sounds like why you should.
they wanted to see the monsters on the corner of the ceiling, climbing up the walls. They
Need
wanted to
see
see
the hat.
the Mr. Hatman. Yeah. Have you seen the TikToks of like the guy that looks like a robot and he's got like LEDs coming out of everywhere, including his mouth,
I have not.
and he's like dancing to some kind of tune, and it's all very robotic and kind of just weird looking.
Nope.
What
Oh,
side of TikTok are you on, Dominic?
I'm just whatever the algorithm gives me, I guess.
Mine shows me blue collar workers and food videos.
Well, this one everyone's just like, oh, he looks like the Hat Man. He looks like the things I see when I'm on Benadryl.
Every time I think about taking Benadryl or just like hear about like somebody taking Benadryl, I think about that meme that's like me when I take 17 Benadryl and see the Hat Man. Oh no, this is not a safe space.
Yes, that's what I think of as well. But
Okay, is this a music podcast or a drugs podcast? Because it's fine if it's a drug podcast. I just need to pivot a little bit on my own thoughts today.
I'll pack a bowl.
well,
Well,
we
there you
have
go.
we have some people that can talk about this a little bit more knowledgeably than we can. We have a few albums to talk about this week. First and foremost, we have Wednesday's Rat Saw God. We have Sleep's Holy Mountain. And of course, I'm delving more deeper into Radiohead, covering both Kid A and Amnesiac. Essentially a double album that was released like 8 months apart or whatever.
All right.
So,
And that's I turned up the volume on Trix's microphones just so I can hear her better. And honestly, that whatever you just placed down on there, that was basically the backing instrumentation for Amnesiac.
Yeah.
that's the
Yeah.
opening to pack like a sardines in a crushed tin box.
That was me setting my metal pipe down on my stool.
Ah, everything in its right place.
All right. Since we were talking about drugs, we could talk about Wednesday. But since we're talking about Radiohead now, we could talk about Radiohead. What are we feeling?
Or we could talk about the other drug album, which is Sleep.
Yeah. I was gonna say, if we're talking about drugs, like, isn't sleep just stoner?
Yeah.
I don't even know if there's a continuation to the next word. I think it's just stoner.
Yeah, they're just stoner.
Yeah.
Sleep's Holy Mountain. Our first album that we've covered that was released in 1992.
Wow.
Well, that is the most cherry-picked stat that we could have had for this episode. And yet, it's still somehow interesting.
Well, I know that Domino keeps track of every year that we've covered.
Yes.
What years have we not covered? Like obviously we're not talking about like we haven't covered 5 BC and shit. I'm
Obviously,
talking about
yes.
since 1980 or something like that. I know we have the anomalies before that, but since 1980, which years have we not covered?
I'll just tell you this: we have never covered an album before 1969, so that's where our stuff begins here. The only thing we technically covered was, I think, the Sarah Vaughan album, but that was a re-release for like '86, so I count that, not the original release. But if we're talking after 1980, we are missing 1984.
Literally 1984.
Yeah,
yes.
literally 1984.
We're missing 1990, and that's it.
Wow. Yeah, I'm now currently just going to check. I'm going to create an auto playlist and check what albums I have in here that are 1984. Once we do that, Trix, you want to introduce Sleep?
Yes. They are probably the go-to band that most people think about when you hear stoner or stoner rock. Probably because of Dope Smoker, but
even before then.
Yeah, this is a fun little album that has almost kind of like a country bluegrass kind of twang to it in some points.
At one point, literally.
Yeah, some grass.
Yes, a little 46-second interlude. That's as twangy as you can get.
It's just Matt Pike showing off, and I'm fine with that. But
Yes.
it's good stoner rock.
Note to the cannabis leaves on the cover of Holy Mountain.
Yep.
I was looking, and apparently Sleep was the name in stoner rock and metal at this time, along, surprisingly, I did not know this, with Caius.
Yep. Kiss.
Yeah.
I think.
Well, I mean, Kiss,
That's
Caius.
That's one of those ones I've never heard, if that makes sense. Like I've never heard it.
I've never really listened to Kias, or Caius is how I've always had it pronounced, because there was a kid in my grade who was called Caius, and he was literally named after the band.
But that is the original band that Josh Homme is from.
Yeah.
Before Queens of the Stone Age.
Now, I've just done a search for those years for what I have just on my local files and stuff like that. I actually have no albums from 1984, or at least no albums that have been tagged as 1984 on here. So there's probably maybe some that I have that haven't really been properly tagged or anything like that, but no. But I actually only also have one from 1990, and that's They Might Be Giants Flood.
Off the top of my head, I know that the Smiths' first album's from 1984. So that's like the
Well, yeah, I was going to assume there's been some albums. I don't think the music industry just decided, 1984, we're taking a break.
Yeah.
But I mean, I can't, I don't have anything else really coming to mind of like, I could look it up and be like, oh, this is from 1984. This is from 1984, but that's the only thing that I can think of top of my head.
I'm doing some searching right now myself.
I was going to say, what year was Thriller? I thought that was pretty close, but that was 82.
Yeah, 82, we already covered Signals and Pornography.
Good thing Pornography never existed after that, am I right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Fuck, what else? Oh, that's gonna be... What's 1984 album charts? I'm so curious about this now. We're already talking about something else.
We might have to cover Grace Under Pressure by Rush.
Whenever we do more Rush, we'll get there.
Yep. Well, that's their 84 album.
The Footloose soundtrack.
Oh, of course. Classic.
Oh, it's Purple Rain, 1984?
Yeah, that was 1984 now that I think about it.
Yeah.
Oh, Shout by Devo?
That is an album I think I thought I would cover at some point and just haven't gotten to it.
Let's see, Purple Rain by Prince and the Revolution? Yes. Yes, it was 1984. June 1984, so that one. Big one. Ride the Lightning, Metallica, is that one as well? I'm just taking a look at these things because they're just the charts in here. So it might not exactly be the year that it came out, but yes, no, it's 1984. Yeah, no, that's basically some of the bigger ones I can see on here. Oh, no, you know what? You know what is 1984?
What?
I'm pretty sure. I'm just making sure of it. Yep. Stop Making Sense.
Oh
yeah. Did cover a 1984 album.
I consider that we covered the 1999 version, so that's where I have that listed.
We also covered the video, which is 1984.
Yep.
But it was re-edited for DVD.
Fair enough.
I think we're still covered. We actually covered the album though, which was 1984.
Come see, come out.
I think we covered.
That's fair.
I think we can consider 1984 to have been covered. We'll worry about 1990 later.
Well, in that case,
1984 at some point too. I feel like we have to.
Well, in that case,
I just want to quickly say,
yes.
If you're wondering why we're dodging talking about Sleep's Holy Mountain, I don't really have anything to say about it.
It's one of their weaker albums. I'll say that.
I'm gonna say if we're worried about re-releases, then the Sarah Vaughan album is the only thing we have for 1987.
Oof. We're not good for the 80s, are we?
I mean, we have a ton for 1981. We have a good amount for 1980, and then we have nothing really moving the needle again until we got a few things in 93 and then 95 and that kind of stuff.
I'm going to assume like most of our shit is from 2020 onwards.
Oh,
we've been pretty good at new releases.
Oh, of course. Like if we're talking about when we start really seeing a bunch of more numbers, anything from like 1999, 2000 onward, because we're basically just like that.
Okay.
But Sleep, Holy Mountain. Uh,
It's alright. I like the riffs on this, I guess. I
I
mean,
think the opening track is the best track, Dragon On.
I found myself liking the later tracks. I thought, once we get to like Inside the Sun from Beyond, it was much more jazzy and interesting.
Mhm.
I mean, I still struggle to get into stoner metal, stoner rock as a whole as it is.
I agree.
It's just a genre that I'm not hating it. It's not like Tricks picking Shaky Graves again. It's more of a case of it's just I wouldn't even call it in one ear out the other because there's quite a lot to actually take in about it, but it's just too slow paced for me. That's just it. I know that's how it is. So it's like basically the main draw of stoner metal, stoner rock is the thing that's like stopping me from really getting into it. And
Yeah.
it's probably why I like Dr. Colossus a lot because that's actually surprisingly not really slow paced at all.
Well, and like it's not Dope Smoker or something like that, where it's like,
Yeah.
oh, it compositionally is impressive to be an hour long.
Yeah.
This is just a traditional album, the last traditional album they had as the original band.
Yes.
Um, this was after they had their fourth member leave, I believe. Their fourth member who was with the band for the first release.
Yep.
And then went to become a monk for a while.
Yep.
That is the least surprising story you could tell me about this band.
Yeah, honestly. At some point, we're going to have to cover some of their side projects, which I think are the more interesting thing to come out of Sleep, as weird as that sounds.
Like
Outside of
Ohm?
like Ohm, especially, and High on Fire. I think.
I'm just going to quickly post a picture of the Spotify bio of Sleep, just at the picture on there. And if I had no context to any of this, and if Trix had just told me that this was a picture of her dad with his friends, I would probably believe you.
My dad did kind of look like Cisneros when he had the beard. Not gonna lie.
I believe that. That's
I've
amazing.
posted my record slip, man, haven't I?
Yeah, you have. But basically, this is just like that's what I would expect if I had no context to what your dad looked like, and just from all the stoner metal and stoner rock that's been pushed. And
Yeah, that's fair.
again, I think this is still an alright album. I didn't come out of listening to this hating everything, but we had a week where just everything else was more so much. Yeah, it was so much worth grabbing the attention for that it's kind of really hard to really talk about this one because I just wasn't focusing on it like I was the other albums.
Yeah, this is one that I listened to and put on, and I got through it, but it's like the retention compared to other stuff is just not there.
Yeah, well, we've definitely done this a couple times, and I feel like this is one of the times where you've listened to it, and afterwards you go on, it's like, yep, okay, I've listened to it, that's over. It's not even out of hate or anything else like that. It's just like it's done, like you've done your work.
Yeah.
It's just how I felt really listening to this, and again, I probably just won't even really consider ranking this or anything like that. It was just really something that I struggle to get into, something I struggle to really properly digest and give the time to. So it's kind of really hard for me to properly actually critique this type of music. I like to say I listen to old genres, but then when someone smokes a little bit too much weed and recommends me a Sleep song, that's when I get called out.
Now, granted, I do think this is an impressive album in the sense that Sleep had sent this in as a demo to Earache Records, and Earache was like, "Oh, let's just put this out. We like this."
Yeah.
So this is just the demo recordings for the album, and it became the album. And I think
it's also got their most popular songs in Spotify, or basically all on here. I mean, out of their top 10, 5 of them are from this album.
I mean, they only have like 4 albums, and nobody really talks about Volume 1.
And Dope Smoker is their most well-known thing, and that is just a one-song album.
The Sciences is okay,
but no, I think being impressed enough to put it out as demos to album like just pipeline directly. That's cool. I dig that.
Yeah.
Maybe
Okay,
if they had
I'm
spent
going
more
to
time with it.
assume. I'm just going to quickly interrupt. I'm going to assume this is a Spotify pub because I was like, oh wait, but there's another album. But I don't think this is actually an album from Sleep.
Oh,
Serene Serenity Sounds for Dogs.
interesting. 50 songs, an hour and 32 minutes.
Fuck, Trix, can we cover this one?
Sure.
Deep breathing, time for relaxation, transformation, calm. Holy shit, this spa time, stress relief. This dog is getting pampered.
The little
Holy
cute dog on
shit.
the cover.
I know it's a little. Oh, I just
Little
wanna. I just want to cuddle that dog. Holy shit. Honestly, probably so do all the people who listen to Sleep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, I really feel like this was just more of like me establishing that, oh, the members of Sleep have done other stuff other than Dope Smoker. And I want to open it up into covering old Eye on Fire.
Yes, but the question really is: have they done anything else other than Dope Smoker?
Yes. High on Fire won a Grammy.
There you go. Well, we should have done High on Fire.
I mean, I do think it's like I said. I think this feels like a thing we would have covered in like 2020 or something like that. This feels like a lost chapter to something that we kind of missed.
Yeah.
I think this is a Trix pick.
Oh, I mean, very much so.
Yeah. Nothing wrong with that though. But I think I enjoyed Dope Smoker a lot more. At least the whole novelty of the hour-long stoner metal track.
I agree.
Yeah. Yeah.
Could not give you a favorite or least favorite on this. It's not even a blender. It's just really hard for me to kind of like properly talk too much about it, other than I gave it a listen.
I mean, I give it my 3 traditional listens, and I think maybe a little bit more even. So I mean, I like some grass. I like the little bluegrass twinning for a second. I like kind of where we get into like Inside the Sun and From Beyond, you know, where it gets a little more compositionally interesting and jazzy. The jazziness I think was really cool. There are moments where I'm like, if you just put a sax instead of the guitar, this would be like an amazing solo. But we're talking about like least favorites. I feel like Nane's Baptism is weirdly placed. After so many long songs, you just kind of get this little 3-minute one to end it. It just feels, I don't know, weird.
Fair. Fair.
It's not stoner metal unless it goes for 50.
Yeah.
What are you, Trix?
Favorites for opening track, Dragonaut, and Some Grass, and I don't really have least favorite.
All right. So
4 bong rips out of 5.
do we want to talk about more drugs or drugs?
Trix, you get to choose which album we're doing next.
How about one of the albums I have the least to speak about? Amnesiac.
Interesting. Well, we might as well talk about both because they're basically 2 albums coming from the same studio sessions. You first have Kid A, and then a few months later, they're like, we're going to put out a second album of stuff. Here's Amnesiac. And
I struggle just with this to say which one I prefer more. But I also don't like them as much as I liked OK Computer.
That's wild to me, because I like these 2 a lot more than OK Computer, and I like Amnesiac the most.
I think they both have some absolutely incredible moments in them. I mean, How to Disappear Completely is probably the angstiest Radiohead get in all of this, and it's still such a beautiful track.
Yeah, and, you know, like, this is the part where, you know, they're trying to reinvent themselves and go electronic and really focus on, like, you know, sampling and looping and going just from pure rock into just whatever else they can do. And so you get a lot of weird moments, but a lot of moments that are surprisingly beautiful and interesting.
Oh yeah, I mean, it's one of those things where you listen to someone put this out now, it's still, it wouldn't sound dated, but it definitely wouldn't sound as fresh as this is, and it still hasn't really been. I think what's incredible about this is that whilst it's influenced a lot of recent artists and stuff to this day, still, it hasn't been Seinfeld affected.
Yeah, no. No one else is like doing
Unlike,
this.
unlike how OK Computer kind of has.
Yeah, like OK Computer still sounds like an album from the '90s. These sound like something else. And
I mean, it's a fucking bold stylistic choice to be doing these types of albums right after OK Computer. I mean, it's a complete change of sound.
yeah, but like this is also kind of the Radiohead sound in the end of the day. Like this is like what you think of more, I think, when you talk about what Radiohead's become and like what Tom York's doing and stuff. Like,
And also, I pulled out from the top of my head my random bullshit Triple J Hottest 100 facts. Kid A won the albums poll that year, as did OK Computer, which meant that Radiohead was not only the first band to win an albums poll, but now the first band to win it twice. That feat has only ever since been accomplished by Gotye, Tame Impala, and Spacey Chain.
fair enough.
However, Kid A in the Hottest 100 only got one song, Everything in Its Right Place, I believe at 42. Whilst Amnesiac came second in 2001, losing to Something for Kate's Echolalia. And it got two songs in. It got both Pyramid Song and Knives Out at 36 and 72, I believe.
And the thing to me is, I think everyone talks about Kid A as like the album, and people consider Amnesiac to be a weird B-sides, like less cohesive release. And I think that's underselling what it is. Like, these both come from the same sessions. They're both meant to be basically a double album. Like, it's just a very dense, like, complicated thing to release in full, right? So, you know, you kind of have the first set of tracks, which are very electronic. There's not really a traditional Radiohead song, except kind of like when you get into like Optimistic and stuff. But yeah, everything kind of has some touchstone to like what Radiohead's done, like Everything in Its Right Place or National Anthem, but it's distorted and changed so much that it becomes hard to parse and get into if you're unprepared for it, I feel like.
I mean, I can tell you safely, I'm pretty sure my dad agrees with you with the Amnesiac being better than Kid A take, so you're definitely not alone.
Like,
I kind of, I'm not too sure. I might actually agree that I think Amnesiac's better as a full album. Maybe I'll just go contrarian and say fuck you to everybody who goes, oh, Kid A's the best post-rock album. It's a great inspiration, but it's definitely not the best post-rock album.
I mean, it's very bold to name your album after the ambient track that no one talks about.
Yeah.
Like, that's what Kid A is. Kid A is placed in there between Everything in Its Right Place and National Anthem, and those are songs that everyone focuses on a lot more. Like, my struggle with this, I do think it's an overall more interesting album to me than OK Computer, right? But I think there's a section here that I kind of, it's like, okay, we're getting through this. It's a little bit of a slog, like the whole Tree Fingers, Optimistic, In Limbo stuff. Solid songs, but it's not they don't stand out as much.
I think it's a case of, I think Amnesiac is a lot more consistent as an album, a lot more cohesive as an album, in my opinion, but Kid A just has a lot more standout moments on it.
Yeah, like my favorite track from both of these albums is Idiotech, but I like Amnesiac as a whole much more. Like the spikes are higher, but the overall consistency shoots up.
So I know they wrote their song Spectre and stuff like that, but seriously, how did Radiohead never have a Bond song? They've like written a couple of them on here.
Yeah, it's wild that, you know, it took them that long and then it got rejected.
Yeah, I mean, I might be wrong, is basically. I think it's that one. It's basically would work as a Bond song.
Would it? I don't know. Maybe You and Whose Army you're thinking of, or Knives Out? I don't know.
Maybe it's something else.
I might be wrong. Could work, maybe. That just feels like a little bit of a stretch.
Maybe it's You and Whose Army.
Because that's one that crescendos really sharply and has like
Yeah,
bulky...
So I got the track listing wrong. Yeah, it's You and Whose Army.
I will say I have never been a fan of Morning Bell, and I like the joke that it's here twice, but I do not like that it's here twice. Like, I think it's interesting in terms of like showing how Radiohead can compose and recompose a song, and it's kind of more apparent now because like you have songs like National Anthem that they've been working on, you know, for years at this point, trying to get it on an album, and here it is. But it dates back from like, you know, when Tommy York was like 18 or 16, he wrote the bass line. Yeah, it was an album. It was a song they were gonna do for OK Computer, but like even then, you know, around this time, you also have like songs like True Love Waits getting worked on. You have Burn the Witch getting worked on at this point. So this is kind of like the moment where they really start to both release songs that they've been working on for a while, but also like a lot of songs they were working on got worked on a lot more. It's like things are like album agnostic in a way that's really interesting, but still feels really fresh when it finally does release. Moonshaped Pool being made up of tracks that are largely written years before, it doesn't sound like it.
I mean, I do wish I could have actually been old enough when these albums were released. I would have been like 2 and 3, so I would not have been listening to this and actually grasping what it sounded like. But I feel like if I was an older age to kind of grasp music when these had come out, I would be a little bit more in awe about the sounds that I'm hearing on here. Maybe I've just like listened to music in the wrong order.
Yeah.
And so I haven't basically gone like, oh yeah, well, this is the first stuff that I've ever listened to. And it's one of those, it's that case. I remember there's a good 4chan green text where somebody's complaining about the Beatles, I believe it's a Rubber Soul. It's saying that it sounds like every other psychedelic album from the 60s, and then someone goes and says inspires every other psychedelic album, complains that it sounds like every other psychedelic album.
That sounds like a Seinfeld effect moment, though.
Yeah, but that is the Seinfeld effect on this. But it's not in that case, because this still doesn't sound like something else that I've heard. This is still pretty unique in the sounds that it actually has, but in the sense of how experimental it is, I've just heard so much more experimental now these days. I don't think I had the same effect it has the same effect on me as it did with everyone else when this came out. Oh, Trix found that really fast.
Yeah,
the Beatles made.
I figured while I was muted, I'd look for it up.
Oh boy, what a take! but that's fair.
I have a story on the podcast where when I was in the mental hospital, there was a woman who claimed that she was married to Paul McCartney. And I tried talking to her about Revolver, and she's like, that's not a Beatles album.
What did you think it was?
She's like, I don't know, it's just not a Beatles album.
Did you go?
Yeah, I like my favorite Beatles album, the Blue Album. My name is Jonas.
Did you go to her with the theory that Paul is dead?
I did not bring it up.
Did you tell her that Paul was in another band before Wings?
No, but I did say that. I did say that. Tell your husband I'm a big fan of Wings.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I think I like Amnesiac more because it still has a lot of that experimentation. It has a lot of that still Radiohead sound where they come back together more as a band. There's not as much ambient stuff happening necessarily, but it sounds like nothing else, and it sounds like a band really exploring, you know, a new frontier. And as someone who prefers, I think, later Radiohead anyway, this is kind of the moment where it starts to sound really like that. Like songs like Pyramid Song remind me a lot more of something like Spectre or something like Tom York's solo work.
Yeah, I think when I kind of think about like what my favorite moments are in these 2 albums and compare it to OK Computer, where I think some of the best moments on there are where they get that more still kind of like angsty alternative rock in here. The simpler moments on here, and I know I've talked about slow paced on Sleep there, but let me tell you, that is slow pace. On here, I think the actual quieter moments and the simpler moments on here are probably my favorite moments. Stuff like Pyramid Song as well.
Yeah, or like how Pyramid Song...
where it starts off with the kind of pianos on there. Mm-hmm. Or How to Disappear Completely, I've obviously given some prior praise to. I think they just kind of nailed during the slower moments or the kind of softer moments in these albums.
I think like Motion Picture Soundtrack is a great example. Kind of like ending off with this really beautiful kind of orchestral moment with like harps and shit. And then they kind of like eventually fade into like this little minute long like hidden track at the end. Just kind of resolves the whole album.
Man, I'm just saying, as somebody who rips all their albums onto CDs, from CDs onto the computer. Sorry, I'm. This is too late for me. I'm already fucking up. I am glad that the bonus track in the at the end of the last song is starting to die out.
Yeah.
Especially since I believe it's John Butler Trio's Sunrise Over Sea. I've got to go check this out very quickly. Yes, it ends with a 21-minute track, which ends after the 8th minute, and then we get no bonus track until the 20th minute.
I think that shit's really fun sometimes. I think it's a fun little fuck you.
It's a great time in 2004 when nobody was ripping their CDs onto their computer. But now I just have a 22-minute track that is actually half the length on my computer. I have 10 minutes of silence filling up this computer for no reason. Why? The thing is, it's John Butler. John Butler will just randomly, for no reason, extend his songs out by 20 minutes because he feels like playing the guitar for that long.
Fair.
Why could he have not just done it on that song?
They wanted to really surprise you if you were listening to the CD. Like, make them wait for it.
I gotta quickly just check. What is the I'm just checking this out. What is the studio length time for Ocean by John Butler Trio? It is. Oh no, okay. It is apparently a 12-minute track. I was gonna say I thought that one was a bit shorter, but yeah, that one is just a guitar solo that goes for 12 minutes.
Nice.
Yep, like that. Looking at the live album on here, the studio version of Good Excuse goes for 3 minutes. The live version goes to 17. The studio version of Funky Tonight goes for 5 minutes. The live version goes to 12. The studio version of Treat Your Mama goes for 4.5 minutes. The live version goes for 10. So he will just fill it up with guitar. But nah, we just had silence for 12 minutes.
I tried all sorts of different things, you know. You fill time with sound, and let's try filling time with no sound.
I remember Fiddler did it on their debut. They got 3 minutes and a bit of silence. And then we get a short 1-minute track that's an acoustic to end off the album. I think Courtney Barnett ends it off with like 10 minutes of silence or some shit like that.
Black Parade has it.
It's around 6 minutes of silence. It's not too bad, but it's like, yeah, it's still, there's a lot. Or my personal favorite, which at least this one, it's very short and you can cut it down, but Mallrats' last album ends with 11 tracks, all 4 seconds of digital silence.
Oh, interesting.
So it's just, you have to keep pressing the skip button. But there's no point because they're all 4 seconds.
The 44 seconds of silence.
But then it ends with a cover of Mazzy Star's Fade Into You.
Really talking about fading into something.
Yeah.
Getting back into these albums for a second, I think Polk Pull Revolving Doors is a beat that Injury Reserve should have totally done something with.
Sorry, I'm just finding another stupid one on here. Benny's album has one of the most useless ones. It is 11 minutes and 15 seconds of silence, but that just fills off the last track, supposedly. But then there's another file for the next song anyway.
Oh.
So you can just skip it.
Gotcha there, Benny's.
There's no continue listening to it. It's just press skip. Press skip. Benny, press skip. Anyway, that's my gripe about the hidden track today. Back onto Radiohead, which I wish I enjoyed Radiohead as much as everyone else. I like them, but I don't really go out of my way to listen to these artists as much as I probably used to.
Yeah.
I had my Radiohead phase in high school. You know, I was really into certain tracks, certain albums, and I think kind of revisiting it now and getting a better sense of what they were doing, it's really enhanced my appreciation for some of the stuff. I think, you know, Amnesiac was an album I didn't realize I liked as much as I did. But like, a lot of my favorite Radiohead songs are here. Like I like Spinning Plates a lot. Knives Out's a great song. You and Whose Army is great. Pyramid Song is really nice. Like overall, it's just full of
Honestly,
bangers.
honestly, I'm kind of more excited to go into In Rainbows, which I'm pretty sure is their math rock album.
Oh yeah, we'll talk about In Rainbows probably next year.
Yeah,
But
I think that's probably gonna be the moment where I go, yeah, this is my favorite Radiohead.
I mean, it might be for me as well. But like up until this point, at least, Amnesiac has started to really hit on those notes.
All right.
Trix, as someone who could not get into OK Computer at all, how did you feel getting into these at all more?
It's the same deal. I feel like I just can't have an opinion on Radiohead. I listened to each of these albums 3 times, every time in one ear out the other.
And that's interesting because they're so different. I thought surely there'd be something more to talk about with that.
Not really. I even listened to them before recording, and I can't. I'm drawing a blank.
Interesting. Yeah, we talked a lot about the Suspiria album that Tom York did pretty well.
Yeah,
It's not a Tom York thing. It's just a Radiohead thing.
might just go ahead thing.
Maybe. Maybe we'll figure out a way to connect those threads later on as we get into In Rainbows and Atoms for Peace eventually, whenever I want to actually cover that album.
Yeah.
Because getting the context of Atoms for Peace is a pretty crucial moment to like understanding that album, I think. Even
And
though
do we go into the Smile after all that's done?
I mean, eventually, but that's a long time away from now.
Yeah, we still got how many more Radiohead albums to cover?
5, 6, somewhere in there.
All I can
4.
remember is that I just randomly find a lot of Radiohead stuff in op shops after a while. And like I think I found In Rainbows in pretty good condition for like $5 at a market, but I found everything else for $1 at op shops, including the 2 + 2 = 5 single.
Oh,
Yeah,
Wow.
which has a Fortet remix, which is pretty interesting. So basically, I'm just filling up my Radiohead collection out of Vinny's.
I didn't want to cover the re-released double album version of this that came out a couple years ago because I feel like it's pretty dense. Number one, number two, kind of like I think understanding a lot of the bigger moments on those like unreleased tracks, like it involves knowing some of the songs that came later, like understanding the whole history of True Love Waits and all that stuff. You get a better appreciation for like, oh, the version that they were working on for this album became like I think it was either Poke Pole or Spinning Plates.
I'm actually doing a search of what is all the fucking singles alike for what they've released in this time. Because I'm actually curious to see how much like.
Kid A had no
the 2 +
singles.
2 = Kid A had no singles, but Amnesiac had 2. It had
Yes.
both Knives Out and
Pyramid Song.
Pyramid Song. Yeah, I can't believe I bloody forgot that already, even though I mentioned those stuff. On that, I didn't realize Kid A had no singles though.
Yeah, no singles in the music videos.
But hold on. Did they do? I didn't realize they did a split promo with Boxcar Racer.
Oh, they did.
According to Discogs, they have.
Interesting.
I don't know. Was that a split or was that another tag or something like that? It looks like it's split. I'm not too sure about that. That's
The other thing to mention here too is that
is Trix that your fucking mic is destroying us.
Sorry, I was moving.
sounds like you're getting to a fight with a bear or something.
I was entering my apartment.
But for the 20th anniversary, Radiohead put out like a interactive game exhibit experience thing. The Kid A Amnesia exhibition that you could play on PS5 and like PC.
I don't remember that at all.
Yeah, it came out a couple of years ago in 2021, and Epic published it.
Now I'm looking at what's released on here. They have the live recordings of I Might Be Wrong. So that's not a sing. There is a single for it. That was a promo single, but I Might Be Wrong is more considered a live recording thing. Pyramid Songs. Holy shit! There's a song called "The Amazing Sounds of Orgy." Now I
Yeah.
finally understand.
Yeah, those are the B-sides, I believe.
Yeah. Yeah, they don't have any remixes, which I'm a little disappointed in, but yeah. What do
Well,
you get?
the third unreleased stuff for the re-release. It has a couple different versions of things. Like Spinning Plates was a song that was recorded largely in reverse. Um, I believe they were doing the song "I Will," which eventually was on "Hail to the Thief." That they then reversed the track, and that became the song "Spinning Plates." And then Tom York recorded the vocals in reverse, and then they reversed it to make it play forward. And so the version on Kid Amnesiac has like the vocals done in reverse as originally recorded.
Hmm.
And there's also
Wow.
Poke Pole, which is the True Love Waits version, which is how it would have sounded if that song come out in 2000. Of course, a third fucking version of Morning Bell,
Why not a fourth?
not a
Or
fifth.
fifth.
Why not a fifth? Chicks, I've got to ask you to mute your mic when you're moving.
I'm not moving right now.
We just heard a fucking thump.
Might be my cat. He's next to me.
I'm going to request pictures of your cat. Not
Okay,
now, though. Not now, though. Not now, though.
fair enough.
I mean, yeah, it's just. I mean, I don't think there's really too much I can say too much about the albums that just hasn't been said. I mean, they're as much as I'm not into it as much as it is, I still like these. They're still very atmospheric, ambient, whatever you want to call it, albums that toe the line into in between electronic and alternative, and did inspire a modern wave of post rock.
Well, I mean, I think the thing is that we're not people that are gonna be like upset about it, right? Like that's kind of the
No.
thing. Is like at the time, this was such a huge departure that people were like upset and like didn't get it.
Yeah.
But
Like,
then a lot of people, as I can tell you from the Triple J results, a lot of people still did get it, or
Oh,
at
yeah.
least enjoyed it. Although everyone, the one that got in was Everything in Its Right Place, and honestly, there's just so much better of Kid A.
oh yeah, Idiotech is a fantastic song.
Yeah, I mean, National Anthem, How to Discipline You Completely, or Idiotech should have made it in instead of Everything in Its Right Place, but I didn't vote in 2000.
You were barely alive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Life in a Glass House, to kind of round it out, it's kind of a weird track that's interesting too because it's like a whole New Orleans jazz moment. They got like a whole horn section coming in to like perform on it. It is the Humphrey Littleton band, and Humphrey Littleton was like a big like trumpet guy, a big band leader type
Can't say I've ever heard of him.
Me either.
from England, believe it or not.
Crazily enough, that's where Radiohead's from. Holy shit.
Oh my god. It's all starting to make sense.
He was a big radio guy as well. I think he worked a lot for like the BBC and stuff. So big voice, big trumpet, immortalized in Life as a Glass House.
Whew. Excuse me, as I'm currently still adjusting to being up this late on Sunday.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
Any other things we want to talk about, or we want to get into favorites, least favorites?
I reckon we'll get into the favorites and least favorites. I don't really think there's much more that we can talk about that isn't just kind of talking about the history
Yeah.
on this, and I think we covered a lot of the history. I think it's a lot more interesting when we compare this to where Muse was at their point in their career.
Oh yes,
Because
Absolution
we have
and
kind
Black
of
Holes.
I think you absolutely are into something. I think they do. I mean, it's not the most unsurprising. People have made this comparison for years and stuff, but they definitely do have very similar trajectories.
And then those
until, like, a
trajectories will
certain-
change.
Yeah, those trajectories change, but early on, definitely. Favorites of Kid A, National Anthem, How to Disappear Completely, Idiotech. Least favorite? Either something like Tree Fingers or Morning Bell.
I like Idiotech. I like Motion Picture Soundtrack quite a bit. I'm not as into I guess, the more traditional songs off of Kid A. Like, Everything in Its Right Place and National Anthem are fine, but none of those songs really excite me as much. They're solid, good songs, but my least favorite, though, it has to be Morning Bell. Amnesiac, of course, fucking much better. I like this a lot. My least favorite's still Morning Bell, but fucking Knives Out, Pyramid Song, Like Spinning Plates is probably the best one.
I'm a big fan of You and Whose Army. I might be wrong. Pyramid Song and Knives Out, obviously. Least favorite, I probably agree. It's probably Morning Bell.
Both are blenders.
Can we put a blender in a blender?
Will it blend?
Did Will It Blend do that?
I hope they did.
It wouldn't surprise me.
All right. So, lastly now, Wednesday, Rat Saw God.
Good album. I like this album. This is what country should have sounded like.
Yes, you're now
Just
getting.
That's my introduction to this album. I don't really know too much about this band. I kind of just like listened to them because I think someone on the Oz Music posted them, and then I added them and started listening to them, and I liked it, so I listened to the full album. And yeah, no, this is the best that country has sounded in years this year. Actually, we've gotten both Home As Where and Wednesday just absolutely changing what we can do with this genre in both in different ways. Home As Where used country to influence their emo sound, whilst Wednesday is more predominantly country in the sound, but has added a lot more alternative into it. I mean, you could basically call this countrygaze.
Yes.
Yeah.
And Dominic, is it going to be an incorrect take, or will be a summary, a good correct take for both of us to say that Bull Believer is the best track of this week?
Probably, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that just goes hard.
Yeah.
Holy fuck.
The vocal performance is just chef's kiss. Fantastic.
Just the outro of the, like, it's one of those good kind of like full circle moments where she's talking about having a nosebleed and her partner's playing a Mortal Kombat, not really caring, and then just the whole finish him at the end thing referencing Mortal Kombat, but it's this whole screaming outro that just absolutely breaks down. It's still a good album afterwards, but just I don't think there's any moment on this that makes you go, holy shit, as much as the outro to Bull Believer does. I think if I knew this song last year, I think it would have been top 10 for me.
100%. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Definitely would have been fighting for it. I'm thinking, do I enjoy it more than Black Midi's Welcome to Hell? And it is a tough fight.
It just feels like it's designed specifically to fuck us with our system because it's the only single they put out from this album from last year.
Yep. Absolutely. And then, in saying that though, the rest of this album I don't think it reaches that peak. It's obviously it's a song that's meant to have a peak. There was some really good moments just in the songwriting or the storytelling. I mean, probably my favorite from all the 2023 stuff on here is Quarry, which is just it's actually just interesting to hear, and the stories that she's telling about. And I didn't even realize they were fake. Or half of them, sorry, were fake. Until after I searched them up. Because she sounds just as sincere with everything else. It's like, it's just really interesting. I think it's one of those, you're getting like this whole like a batch of information or everything like that, but it's not trying an overload. You just get some really interesting moments to talk about there, like the kids who have scoliosis because of how they had to keep slumping, the Mandy and her boyfriend getting arrested. Turns out their home was a front for a mob thing.
Yeah.
Just the choruses, how they kind of get slightly louder and like more intense each time that it's played. It is played like Quarry is basically just a country song.
Yeah.
But
and it's just good storytelling.
That's completely in its structure. It is a country song. But it has just this random shoegaze parts in this chorus and stuff that works so well. It's just a really well-written track. And then what's so funny probably has my favorite one-liner of the whole album with the nothing's more vivid than the darkest time of my life.
Yeah.
It's just like just listening to that was like yep, all right, I'll make sure someone gives you a hug, whoever you want the hug.
Now, like, Wednesday is interesting because it's one of those bands that we could have covered at any point before now. Because most of their albums came out after we started the show.
Yeah.
But here we are in 2023, finally delving into them and being like, oh, holy shit.
Granted, we've really only known of Wednesday this year.
Well, right, yes.
Yeah, this isn't a band that we've known since 2021 and been holding off. This isn't This also hasn't really been me doing the Mogwai strat of the constantly say, yeah, I'll do it, yeah, I'll do it, yeah, I'll do it. This one, I think I only said, yeah, I'll do it once, and now I've actually done it.
Yeah, you didn't have anything on the docket, so you're like, fuck it, let's go.
So I said, all right, we got to do it. You were like, hey, we had to do Mars Volta at some point. I'm like, no, sorry. Sorry, that's not a me problem today. It's Wednesday.
Yeah.
Surprisingly not named after Wednesday Addams. They're named after the band, the Sundays.
But it's just a lot of really catchy moments, a lot of funny moments on there. I mean, one of the moments I see on there is Bath County, which talks about the piss-colored yellow Fanta.
Yeah.
Which I'm going to assume Trix would be the one who relates most to that description.
Yeah.
Yep.
I was thinking a lot about Chosen to Deserve's lines about my friends all took Benadryl till they could see shit crawling off the walls. One of those times a friend took a little too much, had to get his stomach pumped.
There's nothing. I'm going to compare Wednesday mostly to Home as Well. I think that's actually the closest one that we get to compare to, and I'm not going to do too much of the comparison of which one I think is better because it's still Home as Well. That's
yes, Home as Well has the more solid track list.
But when we talk about Home as Where's lyricism, it's this very kind of metaphorical, in a sense. It's not exactly a metaphor, but it is more kind of having that ambiguity into it to kind of get that imagery on here. Whilst Wednesday's on the complete opposite, in which it is very direct.
Yeah, it's
I don't think there's much that goes into this whole, what does she mean by this? She means what she's fucking saying.
Yeah.
But it's conveyed in such a way that you're still getting the same imagery. You're still getting certain thoughts going into your mind about what visuals to put next to these lyrics.
Now, I do have to ask a question. Got Shocked has the lyrics, "You never asked for anything. The race car driver died on TV. I ran like hell into the burning house."
That's also a Daytona 500 comparison we can do there.
Is that a Dale Earnhardt reference? Is my question.
I feel like it has to be.
Yeah.
I'm taking a look. What does Genius say about this song? But I feel like looking onto that. That's probably. I'm looking at the lyrics on here because I'm not always sure exactly what songs are falling about in there. But it seems to be a lot of like storytelling about when she was younger or growing up and stuff. So I feel like, especially when this is the type of sound that you do, Dale Earnhardt probably have been a well-known figure. I didn't really know him until this, but I'm assuming NASCAR is just really well-known for people who make sound like this.
Yeah, it's big in the South. North Carolina, Florida, both part of the South.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of this
album race them fast.
A lot of time lives and dies, I think, by Carly Hartzman's just performance and just style. The way she sings, the way she writes. I think Fantana was wrong in saying that she's not interesting.
No, this is one of those cases in which Fantana is usually pretty good at describing why he doesn't like something or why he thinks something is uninteresting. I think there is an art to criticism. I think there's a lot of people that out there, and I'm not going to act like we're the best at it either.
No,
but no. I think when it comes to saying why you like something, it's a lot easier because you focus a lot on why you like something just out of instinct. But when you don't like something, you don't try to do that out of instinct. You instead try to listen to it a little less. In this case, with about music and stuff, or focus on it less. I guess is a more ambiguous term to use on it.
Yeah.
So when you're not really focusing on it as much as you can, you don't get as much of a description. That's just basic logic, I guess, in that sense. So I feel like it's harder to properly describe why you dislike something than it is to describe why you like something. Now, to still do it in very conveying ways and stuff like that is another story. Fantano is usually pretty good at describing why he doesn't like something, which is why I think he's a very credible reviewer. But that doesn't mean that the reasons that he has are correct. This is his take on Wednesday is an L take. this is one of the most interesting albums this year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
By far. Countrygaze is not a term I was using before this album.
Yeah, I think that was something that we were quite aware of. Like, obviously Wednesday was all over Through the Soil too, but we were not really. We were kind of talking about it a little bit then. We weren't really into it though, the same way we are kind of now. Of like, this is the new frontier.
Yeah.
If we could get rid of bro country and replace it with this, I will listen to country.
I mean, we're also in the place of country going into like, you know, the really homoerotic lyrics of like, you know, that one where he's like fucking sucking on his pussy or whatever. It's all over fucking like TikTok and shit.
Ram Ranch.
Yeah.
Naked Cowboys.
So that's kind of there's a desire to have country be something else.
Yeah.
I mean, like I always say in this country was never really too big. We still got some artists and stuff like that. We got our own version of country as well in here, so it's not like it's a country is completely dead in here. In that, but we started to get bro country infiltrate our waves because our Oz stereo networks and all of the Australian music industry, instead of actually supporting homegrown artists like Triple J does, and we'll get to still people argue and say, "Oh, Triple J's not supporting." It's like, no, they are supporting it because instead of Oz stereo network playing some of the more underground Australian artists that honestly, I've some of the stuff that we've covered that's been pretty good. I mean, we never heard Slide Withers play on mainstream radio when Gardens came out, and that's probably still one of our favorite albums of 2021, Dominic.
Yeah.
But we will hear fucking Morgan Wallen on our radio.
Of course.
Because nothing streams Australia more than fucking Morgan Wallen's Last Night. And I'm convinced anybody who went to his concert in Australia as a whole, I'm a big fan of Morgan Wallen. I'm convinced they have brain cells that are ran by Oz-stereo. Because I actually don't know. I can understand how you listen to the music and you go, yeah, I don't mind that having it in the background. I don't understand how you can go, yes, I will pay hundreds of dollars to see a concert.
Yeah.
Sometimes people just know what they know. They just know that song plays on the radio and they like it. They don't really look into it or go further.
Like, will you go 5 years from now and still be a Morgan Wallen stan, or was it just, oh yeah, that happened? And that's what fucking bro country sounds like, and it sounds like nothing. I might not be a Shaky Graves fan still, but when bro country starts to fucking infiltrate my ears, I understand why Shaky Graves is good.
Well, if nothing else, we have that accomplishment.
Yeah, we have that soundbite.
There's already been enough sound. I've admitted to liking Shaky Graves' live album.
Yeah.
We already had that.
Yes.
I am not ashamed to admit when I like something. Well, sometimes. This is a case of, like most music genres out there is always a way for it to work. And this is how country can work. It is a proper storytelling genre. It's not the shitty, I'm going to try and make up with my girl or make up for bad shit kind of thing. Because I don't give a shit about your woes like that. Because they're not actually woes, you're just horny. This is proper storytelling. This is actually captivating to listen to. I don't give a shit if country music is telling a correct story or not. As it always has been, country music has been a storytelling. It doesn't give a shit if it's real or not. Johnny Cash never went to prison other than to play prison shows.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean the songs are any less good.
No.
You know, it's that Carly kind of goes into the mundane details when she tells her stories about like the guy who died at Planet Fitness and all that stuff. Like, it's just interesting to hear those recollections and just piece together like what she's talking about. And regular country, let's call it the bro country, the mainstream country, it's not that. It's just, you know, it's the stereotype of like trucks and women and drinking beer.
Yeah.
And anything that's not that feels like a breath of fresh air. And I think, you know, like,
don't forget, try that in a small town.
Of course.
Yeah.
And so now that we kind of have other bands pursuing country in a way that fits for them, I think we're kind of maybe hopefully seeing a country revolution, at least musically, that will make it more palatable.
I mean, I listen to the music that I want to listen to anyway. I don't have the radio on all my life and stuff like that, so I don't give a shit too much personal for my own personal taste what's popular or not. I just want to have new music that's good. That's my selfish take on all this. And I don't give a shit what genre it is as long as I genuinely enjoy this. And I enjoy this. Wednesday, please keep making this music. This is not my favorite album of the year because that's already going to be hard to beat. But this is going to be high up there. I think even though we have a really high peak at the start that it doesn't quite live up to for the rest of this album, that's just because of how high of a peak it is.
Yes.
I think there is still just a lot to take in about this album. Listen to. I don't think it executes everything perfectly, but I don't think it really matters because I still like it. It's I this is a fresh sound, great storytelling. I don't really know what else more to say on this. I mean,
it's to the
we
point where
haven't talked about TV and the gas pump.
I mean, TV and the gas, I'm sure, is a weird thing to see, but it's a thing.
It is a thing. Cheddar News.
No, I know.
But
I know that of the TV and the gas pump. You get the very cheap ones do that there. Very cheap gas stations do it because they pay for a lot of their things by having the advertising for those TVs.
My thing I want to know is, like, would this album be different, and would it be easier to appreciate everything if Bull Believer was not on it?
No, I'm still able to appreciate everything.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
Yeah, no, I maybe you could say if it had a different pacing or if a different track location for each of these songs, maybe, because it's like, yeah, you get blown away by Bull Believer to start off this album, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah, that had been like the closer. Holy shit. That would have fucking brought it down. But it's the second track.
The Drive-By Truckers.
I mean, yeah, Drive-By Truckers do get name dropped. I've thought about covering them before, but I was a little afraid to, but...
I've been thinking about covering them too.
I just want to say also with this with the talking about the Death at Planet Fitness on this album, I've been listening to a lot of Spanish love songs recently. That's just been what I've been listening to recently. And in the song Haunted, they talk about someone dying in the McDonald's parking lot. So it's just kind of weird that we had two 2023 songs that have these very similar lyrics from like two completely different bands here. But
yeah. Kind of like the race car driver crashing on TV thing.
Yep. Maybe Wednesday was the true central point for the for
I think Wednesday's the true central point for everything. You think
basically.
About it.
Yeah, the
basically.
At the shoegaze, you got the country, you got the...
That's why they're called Wednesday Tricks. We figured it out.
Yeah, and it's Wednesday Central in the week.
Oh, shit. The missing link. Oh, just like my holler.
Oh, fuck. Can someone mash up the X-Files theme and Buddy Holly now?
I guarantee somebody has already.
Fucking, I don't know. Let's find that X-Files Buddy Holly mashup. Come on. No, not X.
Ow.
Monty, don't bite.
He scratched me.
Monty, don't scratch.
Mashup. No, someone's done Buddy Holly with Party Rock Anthem there.
That's pretty
good.
Do
you know that both members of LMFAO are an uncle nephew?
Yeah, no, I knew that one back in 2011. Actually, that was like one of the few first absolutely pointless music trivia I learned. I was like, oh, cool. Still not listening to them though. They're someone picked them in the music league for Oz Music. I think I just wrote that it was such a shit song, and I'm so disappointed from listening from it that I'm actually upset that I didn't pick it because I'm trying to get as much downvotes as I can. And
nothing says cool like doing songs with your uncle.
It's just bad. Why was that popular? It's just not good. This LMFAO album.
I have to admit though, their second album after everything came out and they were like criticized for it and they called it Sorry for Party Rocking So Hard is objectively funny.
No, the album titles are funny. That's not what I'm talking about though.
Yeah.
It's just like the song that was chosen was Shots. That's such a bad song.
Cha 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 cha.
And it's got some very problematic lyrics that weren't even cool for when it was released.
Again, nothing says cool like writing songs with your nephew and just partying, rocking out. Like, is this uncle like the cool uncle, quote unquote? Is that what this is?
There's no such thing as a cool uncle.
They did show up in that weird Hunger Games parody.
Is this like...
Is that the one with all the fucking, like, one of the districts is just a naked woman because they decided they couldn't be bothered with comedy, so they just went for the nudity instead?
Maybe. I don't remember. I watched it high.
There was like 5,000 Hunger Games parodies.
It was like...
None of them good.
Anyone else have anything to say about Wednesday, or should we move on to Thursday?
Hot rotten grass smell.
A phenomenal album.
Great intro song.
Monty.
I can't believe 2 of my favorite albums this year have been country albums. And then, I mean, the most believable part out of them is that they're both not really country albums, but yet they both are.
Yeah.
Indeed.
And they both mention Dale Earnhardt. One directly and one indirectly. And then the one that you're expected to do directly is not the one who's doing it directly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Welcome to country.
That's something else in this country, Dominic. Just gonna warn you about that.
Welcome to countrygaze. How about that?
Yeah, well, welcome to country is the thing that happens in Australia as a whole, kind of welcome to Aboriginal land.
Oh, I did not know that. Interesting.
Yeah. It's not actually like when you're going onto Aboriginal land, it's like it's a whole like this is still Aboriginal land, never succeeded kind of stuff. So it's like yeah, it's a little different, Dominic.
My bad. Well.
Favorite songs? Hot Run and Grass Smell I actually still think is a pretty good intro into Bull Believer, but Bull Believer is the best song off this album. Bath County and Quarry are both fantastic tracks as well. I like the lyrics and it's so funny, and I like the closer of TV and the Gas Pump. And I'm not going to do this full like, oh yeah, no, I like all of them because honestly, Turkey Vultures is probably my least favorite.
Actually, sorry, go ahead.
Favorites for me: Bull Believer, Formula One, Chosen, and Bath Country or County.
I just wanted to point out that Homeless Warehouse Daytona 500s Wednesday has Formula One.
Yeah.
Yes.
Very fun as well. My favorites, I will agree with Hot Rotten Grass Smell, Bull Believer. I also like Chosen to Deserve, Bath County, Quarry. My least favorite's probably Formula One or Turkey or Vultures.
Fair enough.
All right, so what's our hot take for the week for the rankings? Trix, you want to start?
Sure, because my I feel like you guys already know my rankings. I'm going to go Amnesiac, Kid A, Sleep's Holy Mountain, and Rat Saw God.
Dominic, you want me to do the hot take first?
Go ahead.
I'm going to take Sleep's Holy Mountain. I'm going to do Radiohead's Kid A, Radiohead's Amnesiac, and then I'm putting Wednesday as number 1.
Well, I'm going to agree with you with Sleep's Holy Mountain being the bottom, but I'm going to put Wednesday after that, and then Kid A, and then Amnesiac at the top.
I've just come to the opinion that out of all the albums that we listened to this week, I want to listen to Wednesday the most, and look, Kid A and Amnesiac were definitely big for the time. I honestly think this is big for me right now. I think that's
totally fair.
Different. So yeah.
All three of those albums are going to be pretty high on the list of things we listened to this year for me.
Yeah, no, Rat Saw God's my favorite of the week by far on this one. I think it's when I start to really compare my favorite 2023 albums, I don't know how high I'm going to put it up in there, but I honestly, it's probably my number 2 at the moment.
Interesting. All right.
I'd have to really think about it because, like, we've obviously covered a lot. I'm just trying to look at all the stuff that we've done this year as well. I mean, out of stuff that we've covered, I might have Scaring the Hose higher than it.
We haven't covered Scaring the Hose yet, though.
Yeah, no, but I really like that album. It's good. Are we actually talking about what we're covering the week after the?
So here's the thing, right?
If we Yeah, we're doing the Barbenheimer next
Next
week.
week, but however, in recording history, that will be released before this.
Yes.
Okay, yeah, that's right. So we're talking about what's being covered next week then?
Well, you are going to be away in Brisbane, I believe.
Yes, well, I am going to be away in Brisbane. So are you doing a mini-sode or are you doing a recording episode?
We're gonna do a mini-sode.
We're gonna call it a regular episode because we're gonna have a few things, but it's gonna be a mini-sode. Which reminds me, Trix, have you picked a Joe Bonamassa album to cover yet?
I am doing that as we speak.
Okay.
So are we picking what we're doing for the week after?
Yes.
Yeah, cool. Scaring the Hose.
All
Fair
right.
enough.
Plus the DLC pack.
Of course, as it should be.
Yeah. That was probably the best say I can do into it. And you might think, was that planned all along? No.
Of course, after the
But
Joe
we're doing Scaring the
Bonamassa
House.
album, after Joe Bonamassa's week, I'm gonna do Muse's Absolution of Black Holes and Revelations because we need to go to the other half of this comparison.
Okay.
So, Trix, number one will be what's your Joe Bonamassa album, and what's the thing you want to do along with it to balance it out?
Ah, fuck, I didn't think of that. Okay, you know what? I know I got this. So the Joe Bonamassa album I'm going to choose, just to be a dick, is "Merry Christmas Blues."
Sure.
And then the good album, I'm gonna do we finally get our first official 1984, and I'm gonna do Danny Elfman's solo.
Ooh. Okay. That's a shocker. I like this turn of events. And now to pick something for the week after that.
I'm going to do both Pizza Death albums, the new one, Reign of the Antichrist, and Slice of Death.
Trix, I love you.
Ooh.
Yes. Pizza metal.
So
Now, Dominic, you've done the stats. How many Australian artists has Trix picked?
I have no idea. I don't know the stats on that one.
I feel like it's surprisingly low.
Oh, probably.
Because
Yeah.
now Trix has definitely added to that single digit tally. I think you picked a King Gizzard, Trix. I think, and a Courtney Barnett.
We've all picked a King Gizzard.
Yes, and
Yes.
you picked a Courtney Barnett. I know you've done that, so it's definitely not zero.
It's not zero.
But I think I must have I introduced Trix into Pizza Death a little bit ago, like
Yep.
probably two days ago, and
2 years
it
ago.
was
You introduced
it
me.
w- oh yeah 2 years ago, but I introduced you to the new album 2 days ago or something like that.
Yeah.
And I think it combines Trix's favorite types or just favorite things, pizza and thrash metal.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
So that means that for us, our next week recording will be Barbenheimer, but you'll be hearing that before this. After that, we're gonna do Joe Bonamassa's Blues Deluxe and Merry Christmas Blues, along with Danny Elfman's solo as a little mini-sode episode weirdness. And then when Trix comes back, we're gonna do Muse's Absolution of Black Holes and Revelations, Scaring the Hose by Danny Brown and JPEG Mafia, as well as the DLC pack, and Pizza Death. Both albums. What are they called again?
Antichrist and Slice of Death.
Antichrist and Slice of Death.
And I'm kind of upset because I did actually see the vinyl for Slice of Death when I was down in Melbourne the other week. So maybe I should have picked it up.
Well, with that, I'm Dominic. You can catch me online at DACICHOCKI on Twitter, Dominic Chikoki on YouTube if you wish, and I'm also on the Games My Mom Found podcast sometimes.
I have been Ritalin. You can catch me on my website, Ritalin for Kids, on github.io. I also have a YouTube channel that's in the description below. Also, to round out the Pizza Death discussion here, I'm pretty sure that the vinyl is pizza colored.
Hell yeah.
Hell, I have been Trix. You can catch me online on Twitter, Blue Sky, Hive, anywhere you can find a train with boxcars and spray painting tweets onto them. Buy our merch. We have a Redbubble store. We got a clock. We got a puzzle. And follow us on Twitter and Blue Sky at Dissonant Waves.
All right. Anything else? Do you want to plug our Napster?
Well, Napster made a comeback like a few years ago, didn't it? Where it's now like a streaming service.
Oh shit, did it?
Yeah.
Well, didn't know that. But hey.
I just actually got to go to the one best thing, sorry, of Pizza Def. I know this is a bit there. You could buy the Pizza Def Slice of Death family meal deal, which was it comes in a pizza box that's shaped like pizza. It has the logo on there with a bunch of fake blood, and you get 4 variants of the Slice of Death vinyl, plus a CD. And then they had 2 other boxes that had a bit more that only had one thing on them. It's pretty funny. This is probably one of my favorite vinyl releases.
Hell yeah.
Well, that's going to be it for us then. Thank you very much, everybody. Have a great morning. I was going to say bye. Okay.
No.
Bye.